Amnesty is in the air, and it's in the air with Republicans in the House of Representatives. If you haven't heard about that, maybe it's because the news media have been committing journalistic malpractice, not covering the most important issues of the day. But we know a lot about the tragic South Korean ship that sank. We know a lot about the earthquake in Mexico, and even about the Mount Everest avalanche. But what about amnesty for illegal aliens? And have you heard what the Florida Sheriff's Association is saying about concealed carry in Florida? We're going to talk about this. I'll tell you what U.S. Representative Steve Sutherland says about amnesty with Daryl Day in just a minute. Pull up a chair and join us. They're talking about amnesty for illegal aliens in Washington, D.C. And when I say they, I mean Republicans are talking about amnesty. Do you ever get the feeling that the Republican Party has changed quite a bit? I look at the Republican Party now, and I think about what they're pushing, and I see amnesty. I see food stamps. I see raising the debt ceiling. I see Common Core. And I'm very, very disappointed in the Republican Party. If they are not going to stand against these things in D.C., who will? When it comes to amnesty, the Republicans are talking about giving illegal aliens a pathway to citizenship, amnesty, in exchange for military service. Is that a good idea? I want to get your thoughts on that as well. If you will email me at the email address below, I'd like to share your answers next week. And I'm with Daryl Day. Daryl, thanks for joining us. I appreciate you being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Bernie.
What is this amnesty Republican Party, food stamp Republican Party, raise the debt ceiling, Common Core? Amnesty in exchange for military service a good idea or not?
Well, I'm just kind of getting to know the Republican Party because it's a brand new Republican Party. It's amnesty. It's not a pathway to citizenship. That's like saying we need a pathway to Tallahassee. We've got Highway 231 and Highway 20. What we need is to get people on the pathway. And we have a legal way to have people to come to this country. But to create some new thing that they're not talking about, to me is, what about the people that are actually on the pathway to citizenship? Right. The hundreds of thousands of people who have tried to do respect our laws and are in line to come to America. What about that pathway?
There already is.
Same one?
Yeah, there already is one.
They can be using that same pathway.
Here's my thing, Daryl. Unless there is a great need in the U.S. military for illegal aliens, why in the world are we talking about this? When I was a U.S. Air Force officer in 2005 at Hill Air Force Base at the 388th Fighter Wing, I am telling you, I did not look around and say, you know, the Air Force would be a whole lot better if we had more illegal aliens in uniform. We should not use the military as a vehicle for citizenship. It's not right. That and much more with Daryl Day in just a minute. The Bernie Thomson Show Whiskey Rebellion is brought to you by Gulf Imaging. Have your doctor refer you to the #1 diagnostic facility in Bay County for MRIs, CAT scans, and digital mammographs. Gulf Imaging, Open MRI. Waterstone Apartments. Each home includes a full-size washer and dryer, spacious walk-in closets, and high-end appliances. Waterstone Apartments on North Jenks in Panama City. Bay Dental Center. If you've been putting off going to a dentist because your teeth are in bad shape, let my dentist take care of you. Dr. Colias at baydentalcenter.com.
Gerard Verga fights for justice every day. As a family man who grew up in our community, Mr. Verga wants to bring those values back to our justice system. Vote Verga on August 26th. Political ad paid for and approved by Gerard Verga for judge.
Hi, I'm Jay.
And I'm Katie.
Is your check engine light on?
At Gears, we will check it for free.
Don't pay for diagnostics.
At Gears, we will check it for free.
Transmission services for $49.95.
Free shuttle service in our Gears limo.
Come let my daddy fix your car.
Find out what's shaking at Lowe's House of Bourbon at the Shrimp Boat Restaurant. Lowe's House of Bourbon, located above the Shrimp Boat Restaurant in historic St. Andrews.
Hi, I'm Daryl Day.
And I'm Burnie Thomson.
You know, we both proudly served our nation in uniform.
And we still serve today on the radio, expanding freedom and protecting the family budget.
And using the airwaves to educate, enlighten, and entertain, and sometimes irritate.
So join us every day and link arms, and let's do our part to restore this republic.
Join me each morning, Monday through Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
And join me from 11 to 2 on Talk Radio 101. What is it with the Republicans and amnesty and driver's licenses for illegal aliens and in-state tuition, 75% discounts for illegal aliens? Well, somebody showed me an email that State Senator Don Gates, the president of the Senate, wrote, and he said that some of his colleagues are saying that it's just good politics to do these kinds of things. We've got to win votes, and we've got to appeal to the Hispanic population. Now, I sort of believe that you can appeal to everybody by telling the truth and trying to expand freedom and protect the family budget. Believe it or not, even Hispanics are for that. But I think it's just wrong, Daryl Day, don't you, to offer amnesty for military service. I don't understand why Republicans are doing this, but John Boehner recently told business executives and lobbyists that we're going to get this done this year.
It seems to be the push of the Republican Party is to get amnesty done this year. I think it's very important that we continue to refer to it as an amnesty program, because that, in essence, is what it is. How can we possibly, as the state of Florida, how can we offer in-state tuition to an illegal immigrant when we won't offer it to someone from Dothan, Alabama? How do you sit around and come up with such uninteresting, crazy ideas as that?
And it's not the Republican Party of 4 years ago. I mean, this is not, when Jeb Bush was the governor of Florida, would you agree he was a pretty good governor?
Yeah.
That's not the most enthusiastic endorsement I've ever seen. But he wasn't.
He was there.
He wasn't back then, though, pushing for amnesty and Common Core, which he's pushing for now, which, of course, is a federal criteria for all kids, a one-size-fits-all for all kids. I'm just so frustrated with this.
Well, the Republican Party right now is incredibly math challenged. 80% of all the Hispanic votes, especially those that could come from illegal immigrants, will go to the Democratic Party. And somehow the Republicans have gotten in their minds that if they can get more of the 80-20 split towards the Democrats, that is going to somehow help them get elected. It's the same way they're running the country.
Yeah, you know, and I'll tell you what's really happening, Daryl, and you know this, with Obamacare. You've got, what's happened is we have businesses who have had to drop workers down to 28 hours because of the compliance costs of Obamacare. But guess who is not? Businesses don't have to comply with those costs. Newly legal illegal aliens. So instead of getting rid of Obamacare, which is the crux of the problem, now you've got organizations like the U.S. Chamber of Commerce that are pushing on behalf of big businesses to get newly legal illegal aliens so they can have full-time workers so they do not have to deal with the compliance costs of Obamacare. Now, every time I turn around, Daryl, it seems that our government, state or federal, is bending over backwards to help everybody except U.S. citizens.
Yeah, you're exactly right. The 40-hour a week, if you're an illegal immigrant, newly dreamed act person,
right,
you can work 40 hours. You don't have to fall into the part-time.
That's what this is all about.
And you also have to understand that if you are an employee, an American citizen, and you're an employee, if your boss has a good quarter or a good half of the year and decides to give you a $500, $1,500 bonus, he may actually bump you into the next subsidy level, which means you could lose $5,000 to $10,000 in subsidies on your insurance, and your $1,500 bonus could cost you $8,500.
That's amazing.
For getting a raise.
That's amazing. I want you to consider this. And by the way, Representative Steve Sutherland's office told me that he is opposed to amnesty in exchange for military service or for anyone else. Those were the words I got from his office. So I want to thank Representative Steve Sutherland for standing against amnesty, and he's going to need your support and my support because Speaker John Boehner is all for it. House leadership in Washington for Republicans they're all for it. It's going to take everything in Representative Steve Sutherland to stand against that. I do hope that Representative Sutherland and I view amnesty as the same. I hope that amnesty doesn't mean a path, is different than a pathway to citizenship. I hope we don't end up playing word games, but I'm confident that that he'll stand against it because he said he would. And Daryl, again, I think whenever we talk about the U.S. military, we talk about gays in the military, we talk about this, that, or the other, shouldn't we really be putting mission first? Until the military has a burning need for illegal aliens, we shouldn't be entertaining that idea.
Well, we've turned the United States military into somewhat of a social experimentation soup, if you will. And we ask so much of them, how many, we have servicemen on 3rd, 4th, 5th deployments. And we've also made it a social experimentation. And whether you are for gays in the military or against, it has to be mission number one.
Yeah.
And if being an illegal immigrant is an act of love, as Jeb Bush has said, isn't someone breaking into your home to put food on their family's table? Isn't that also an act of love? And if we begin to extend an act of love to scrub out criminal behavior or even civil behavior, where are we and what is the rule of law? And that's what I'm afraid we're doing, is we're steadily chipping away at what law means in the United States of America, and that will make us lawless.
I do not think that it is merciful to have porous borders. I don't think it is merciful to Americans to continue to change immigration policy, education policy every year. I think that we need to know plans in advance, laws in advance, so we can plan our lives. And with regard to amnesty, the Republican Party, I'm telling you, you're going to be obsolete if you become the party of amnesty, of food stamps, of raising the debt ceiling, and of Common Core. We need to have, and I'll tell you what I think, Daryl, and this is controversial, but I would much rather, especially in a 2-year seat, I'd much rather have a Democrat than a Republican who supports those 4 things, and I'll tell you why. Because I think a true conservative would then have a chance to rise. I would rather have a Democrat than a Republican who stands for those things.
Right. Well, I've heard for years that if we have a third party, that would destroy the Republican candidates, and the Republican Party all on its own has created their very own third party. They're running against themselves. Yeah,
42% of Americans are now not part of either party. They are independents. The Republican Party, as I've said before, have put themselves on a slip and slide toward obsolescence. Isn't it time that the Republican Party stops being the lesser of 2 evils and starts being the good choice? We'll be right back with Daryl Day. The Burnie Thomson Show Whiskey Rebellion is brought to you by Gulf Imaging. Have your doctor refer you to the #1 diagnostic facility in Bay County for MRIs, CAT scans, and digital mammographs. Gulf Imaging, Open MRI. Waterstone Apartments. Each home includes a full-size washer and dryer, spacious walk-in closets, and high-end appliances. Waterstone Apartments on North Jenks in Panama City. Bay Dental Center. If you've been putting off going to a dentist because your teeth are in bad shape, let my dentist take care of you. Dr. Colias at baydentalcenter.com.
Hi, I'm Jay.
And I'm Katie. At Gears, we're proud to offer you a complete transmission service starting at $49.95.
We also offer free shuttle service in our Gears limo.
Lifetime warranties?
Transmission services for $49.95.
Come let my daddy fix your car.
Gerard Verga wants to bring decency, fairness, and justice back to our courts. On August 26th, vote Verga for Judge. Political ad paid for and approved by Gerard Verga for Judge.
Find out what's shaking at Lowe's House of Bourbon at the Shrimp Boat Restaurant. Lowe's House of Bourbon, located above the Shrimp Boat Restaurant in historic St. Andrews.
Let's expand freedom and protect the family budget. You and me, right here every week. And if you like what we're doing, drop me a line at myfreedomradio.com. That's where you can email me and let me know your thoughts. On The Burnie Thomson Show, a Gears production. Do you know what they're doing? What else they're doing in the House of Reprehensibles in Washington, D.C.? There is a Democrat by the name of Hakeem Jeffries, and he is pushing what he calls the Hate Crime Reporting Act of 2014. That is the name of the bill, the Hate Crime Reporting Act. Barack Obama has said that we need to make sure we get critical information to the underserved communities. And in order to do so, he wants to turn newsrooms into the Nevada cattle ranch. Essentially, he wants to send agents into newsrooms. Now, here's the craziest part. You may never have heard of the Hate Crime Reporting Act, and that's because the news outlets are not doing their jobs. This is unbelievable to me. You actually have editors who are talking about everything but that, creating, basically ushering in agents to monitor what stories they're reporting. Editors are going to end up censoring themselves if they don't start reporting on this. Now, Darrell, the First Amendment of the Constitution says that Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech or the freedom of the press. And here Congress is breaking the law by doing that.
Abridging means changing.
Exactly.
Now, I'm for hate crimes because I hate crime. I think any bill we could come up with that would make crime less advantageous to do would be a good thing. I don't even know what a hate crime bill means. How is that going to flesh out?
One of my callers, Darrell, said, hate is not a crime, it's a motive. And that makes a lot of sense. Hate is a motive, not a crime. It doesn't even make sense.
Well, but when it's my DVD player gone, I don't care.
Right.
It doesn't matter to me why they were there. The fact that they were there is what bothers me. But I think we get lost in the semantics of what things are and what things aren't. Things aren't, and that's why we begin to change the definition and the meanings of words. It's a sociological problem, obviously crime, but if you're the person who's had your house broken into, you don't give a flip.
Yeah. On this particular bill, what Hakeem Jeffries, the Democrat from New York, wants to do is they want to monitor, Darrell, what the newsrooms are reporting, what you and I do every day. I mean, you in the morning on Talk Radio 101 from 6 to 9, talking about important issues in the marketplace of ideas. And one thing about having a talk radio show, we never know who's going to call up and challenge us. And you and I don't care about winning an argument. We care about getting to the truth. And when ideas can collide and we have dissenting opinions, that's when we have the best chance to do this.
I've listened to your program. I've heard listeners calling in on your station, on your program, and I've heard you change positions. And not necessarily change positions on the spot, but I've done the same thing. When someone comes on my program with a good solid argument, and it causes me to pause for a minute, I have no problem whatsoever. You've got a valid point.
You and I do not have a monopoly on truth. And I like to say that I'm the first one to admit that I'm wrong. The problem is I'm usually the last one to know. But I remember having a show, and I was going on and on about how Oprah Winfrey was wrong. She shouldn't have said this. I was just going off on her, and a caller calls up and he said, "Did you know?" And he gave some fact. It's been years ago.
Laid out a good argument.
And he was right. And I stopped and I said, you're right. I actually felt guilty for what I had been saying about Oprah because I didn't know that fact. And the caller was shocked because I said, you're right.
That's because you're like me. Winning the argument is not what I'm there for. I want to be sure that those ideas do collide. And that's why I do enjoy the phone calls from someone who doesn't agree with me, because it's important. I want to know why you believe what you believe. I'll tell you why I believe what I believe, and I'll do it without getting personal. And if you can do the same for me, you'll go a long ways with me towards helping me understand who you are. Because in effect, we are all, most sides of this argument in America today want the same thing. They want to be able to pay the mortgage. They want to be able to send the kids to school. They want to know that they're somewhat safe in their homes. But we seem to go at it at two totally different directions. And we need to spend more time finding out why you want what you want and why someone else wants what they want. But for the government to intercede and to set the boundaries and the guidelines and the rules for that is the last person that you want to argue.
I don't remember who said it, but I can disagree with what you have to say, but I will fight for your right to say it. And the First Amendment is very clear. Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech or of the press. And in a free country, Thomas Jefferson was big on this. It is so important to have a free press because the role of a free press is to be the watchdog of government. And for government to come in and say, we are going to decide with agents what stories meet certain critical informational needs is absolutely insane. And it drives me crazy that news editors are going to censor themselves and Democrats who have always been civil libertarians are now cheering this.
Right. The White House recently said, I think last week, that since President Obama has been in office, his most difficult interview was with Jon Stewart of the Daily Show. And that should be a slam on every journalist in the United States of America that's had the opportunity to interview our president.
I remember a particularly tough interview he had at one of the universities, I think it was the George Washington University, with Ben Swan, who was asking him very difficult questions on the fly. But that's the important thing, though, Daryl. Thomas Jefferson once said that if given the choice between either only having a government or a free press, he would choose a free press. And if the news media don't do its job to be a watchdog of government and instead is a lapdog of government, I mean, how many people even know about the Hate Crimes Reporting Act, where the Congress is going to say, wants the president to send in armed agents, like at the cattle ranch standoff, to decide what stories are printed? That is insane, isn't it?
It goes beyond that. The government even wants to decide who is a bona fide journalist and who isn't.
Exactly.
In other words, they want to be able to make the decision over what journalist is a bona fide journalist, what they say is covered by the First Amendment. But if you're just a blogger or someone on Facebook or Twitter, you're not actually, you don't have the credentials of someone who should get First Amendment protections. And that is absurd, and it's outrageous, and it's tyranny in its rawest form.
The Constitution is the supreme law of the land, and the First Amendment is part of the Constitution. It's an interesting idea whether or not the government should monitor the critical information needs of underserved communities, but they do not have that authority. And I'm asking Democrats and Republicans, why don't we just be Americans and say, Congress, you don't have that authority.
The Bernie Thomson Show Whiskey Rebellion is brought to you by Gulf Imaging. Have your doctor refer you to the #1 diagnostic facility in Bay County for MRIs, CAT scans, and digital mammographs. Gulf Imaging, Open MRI. Waterstone Apartments. Each home includes a full-size washer and dryer, spacious walk-in closets, and high-end appliances. Waterstone Apartments on North Jenks in Panama City. Bay Dental Center. If you've been putting off going to a dentist because your teeth are in bad shape, let my dentist take care of you. Dr. Colias at baydentalcenter.com.
Find out what's shaking at Lowe's House of Bourbon at the Shrimp Boat Restaurant. Lowe's House of Bourbon, located above the Shrimp Boat Restaurant in historic St. Andrews.
Gerard Verga wants to bring decency, fairness, and justice back to our courts. On August 26th, vote Verga for judge. Political ad paid for and approved by Gerard Verga for judge.
If you need your car worked on, take it where I get my car worked on. Gears Transmissions. Whether it's your engine, your brakes, or a $49 transmission special, Gears Transmissions will take care of you. And you know you're never going to get upsold. You're never going to get swindled. And you'll get to meet my friend Jay, my good friend Jay, who, by the way, if you like what we're doing here on the Whiskey Rebellion, this is part of Gears Productions. Gears Transmissions you can find online at gearstransmissions.com or in Panama City near the mall, just about a mile up 231 toward Interstate 10. On your left, it's right by the Dollar General. The Florida Sheriff's Association is at it again. I am so disappointed in this organization. Florida sheriffs are the highest ranking elected constables in the county. They're actually the highest ranking law enforcement official in the county. They actually are even higher ranking than the state or federal government. Did you know that? Sheriffs have a lot of power in the Florida Sheriff's Association. There are 67 sheriffs in Florida, and one of their representatives stood in front of the Florida legislature not long ago, and she said that the Florida Sheriff's Association is opposed to you having your concealed weapon, even if you're licensed to carry it, during times of an emergency or an evacuation. That's too dangerous a time, says the Florida Sheriff's Association. I would expect that they would stand for the Second Amendment. Surprisingly, they said you have a right to own a gun, but not to carry one concealed in times of emergency. Daryl, thoughts on that? Isn't that the time you need it most?
Well, yeah, not only that, they also went as far to say that the ability to carry a gun is a privilege. To be able to carry it concealed is privilege. That is not in the Second Amendment guarantee that we all have. Of all the times that you and I or anyone else might need a law, we're talking law-abiding citizens here, because that's the only people that are going to follow the law. Law-abiding citizens during a natural emergency of some kind, a declared emergency, even a mandatory evacuation, you're going to be holding up in parking lots with people you've never met. You're going to be in close proximity, a lot of folks you don't know, and the ability to protect yourself, because at what time would you have less police protection than during a national emergency or natural emergency? Because the law enforcement, all the first responders are stretched as thin as possible, and it's at the end of the day, it's up to you as the leader of your family or you yourself to protect yourself.
Look at the lessons of Katrina, of the LA Rodney King riots, those Vietnamese store owners or the Korean store owners who were guarding their stores. Their stores didn't get robbed.
That's right.
Katrina, they were taking guns from people.
Taking guns from little old ladies while truckloads of vandals with rifles drove through the town.
Absolutely. It seems to me, Daryl, that I know this, my little girls know that it's Daddy's job to take care of them.
That's right.
And I'll be damned if I'm going to allow the Florida Sheriff's Association to argue that we are not qualified to protect our families. That's exactly the time we need to protect our families. Daryl Day, thanks for joining us. I sure appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Brian.
You can send me email and input at The Burnie Thomson Show by emailing me below. I look forward to your comments, and I'll share them on the next episode. Thanks for being with us.
The Burnie Thomson Show Whiskey Rebellion is brought to you by Gulf Imaging. Have your doctor refer you to the #1 diagnostic facility in Bay County for MRIs, CAT scans, and digital mammographs. Gulf Imaging, Open MRI. Waterstone Apartments. Each home includes a full-size washer and dryer, spacious walk-in closets, and high-end appliances. Waterstone Apartments on North Jenks in Panama City. Bay Dental Center. If you've been putting off going to a dentist because your teeth are in bad shape, let my dentist take care of you. Dr. Colias at baydentalcenter.com.